How to play with the rest just as well as you do with your regular technique. If you grip the cue well and stand correctly, this is more than possible. This is Break from Life. Welcome back, and if this is the first time you've watched one of our videos, then it's fantastic to have you here. Every single person who's played a game of snooker will have had to use the rest at some point, no matter how tall they are. And if you're a poor rest player, this will impact your ability to play the game negatively. Now, you may need the rest because the white's simply too far away to reach, or the shot's on the wrong side of the table for your cue action. Either way, you want to make sure your grip on the cue is solid. Now, a lot of people will automatically hold the cue like this, sort of the opposite of their normal cue action. But this is likely to cause the cue to wobble too much. So instead, try positioning it between your fingers in your hand like this. Now, rather weirdly, I rock the cue over my ring finger, which is a bit odd. But I've never really been able to play with the rest in any other way. A much better grip, which will become more and more evident as this goes on that I can't do, is to position your second two fingers down the cue or slightly underneath it. Something like this, because this is going to allow you to move the cue in a straight line for longer, because whenever you play a shot with the rest, it will never go straight. Now, the next thing you want to make sure is your elbow is right back like this at a 90-degree angle, and also that it's above the height of your hand. If it's below, you'll sort of collapse on it like this. And if it's at the same height, rather weirdly, you won't be able to play the cue so straight. Having it just slightly above your hand will mean you'll again be able to move the cue straighter. This also works exactly the same if you have your elbow slightly below the level of your hand, weirdly, but again, you might collapse on this, so it's much safer to have your elbow above the height and at a 90-degree angle to your hand. What is important is to maximize the amount of time you're moving the cue in a straight line, because you won't be able to do this for the entire shot. I like to keep my head as low as possible because this allows me to see the shot better. However, if you put your head too low, you'll start to bring the cue back into your face, which isn't a good thing. Ideally, you just want the cue coming as close underneath your chin as you can possibly get, so you can sight the ball a lot better. Also, watch out for your hand holding the rest, and it's not in any way going to interfere with your cueing. You can do this by getting the rest well to one side out of the way, but as a personal preference, I do have to say I do like keeping everything in a nice straight line. If you have to stretch at all with the rest and take your arm away from that 90-degree angle, I never usually think this is too much of an issue, as long as you're not playing the shot with too much power. Because you only have that minimal amount of time when you play a shot with the rest when your cue is going in a straight line, you want to make the most of this by keeping your backswing and follow through as compact and short as possible. The further you take the rest head away from the cue ball, the more the cue is likely to wobble, and this is going to give you less of a chance of playing a good shot. However, if you move the rest head too close to the cue ball, you'll also find you won't be able to generate the sort of power you need to play the shot, and ultimately your cue could drop off the end or just sort of flick the edge on the way through. So do this, work out the amount of room your cue will need to play the shot, and then place the rest there, and then just bring it back a little bit so you've definitely got room and you won't be too close. A short pullback and short follow through will increase the chances of the shot going exactly the way you want it to by a lot. For this all to go right though, you still have to stand in the right place. With the rest, you always want to stand at a 45-degree angle to the table like this, keeping the opposite foot that you normally stand on the line with on the line of the shot like this. How you stand on a rest shot can be just as important as how you stand on a regular shot. It's your base for not only your balance but how you line up every shot you play. And if you want to know how your aim is affected by your stance, then check out our video How to Stand in Snooker. It's on the Break from Life channel page, along with a load of other videos that will help you dominate at the game. And why not make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel? Even on shots like this where you can't reach and you need the rest to get to the white, aiming the ball correctly will help you more than anything else you do. Alignment is most important. If you want to pot consistently well with a rest, then do this. Find the point on the object ball that you are going to need to play the centre of the white to. Once you've done this, you can walk in on the line of the shot. So place your feet on the line of the shot at a 45-degree angle in the way I showed earlier. As I'm right-handed, I'm going to place my left foot on the line of the shot and my right foot at a 45-degree angle to it. Then when I go to play the shot, I'm going to make sure I'm gripping the cue well and I've got everything lined up. I'm going to keep adjusting everything a little bit until I found the centre of the cue ball, and this aligns with the point I've picked on the black in this case. I'm going to get the rest head distance right, stay committed to that point and play the shot. As I said earlier, just like a backhand in tennis allows you to reach things from the other side, a rest shot in snooker allows you to play shots from the other side of the table that your cue action would normally not allow. For example, if I try to play this shot, I can't get my body in the right place to get in the right position. But playing with a rest, I can easily get in the correct position to stand behind this. This is what you need to do if you want to pot this sort of shot consistently. Find the correct point on the black that if you play the centre of the white to, means the black is guaranteed to go in. Now, I can't quite stand underneath this shot because the table's in the way. So instead I'm going to place my other foot wider and lean on the table, so my body's in the line with the shot and I'm leaning on the table, which is fine as long as you've got all your weight on the table. We can then get the rest head at the correct distance and find the point on the object ball that we looked at earlier and where it matches up to the centre of the cue ball. And when we get both of those things spot on, success is always likely to follow. If you want to be a good snooker player, you need to be fairly competent with the rest, because you sometimes, like this shot for example, have to play some fairly difficult shots with it. Now, what you can get away with sometimes is just being able to drop these sort of shots in, and I definitely take advantage of that if you can. Just don't try to do too much with the rest ever, especially if you're not feeling that confident with it. Just do as little as you possibly can. And a massive advantage is if you can get the correct extensions for your cue. That's the one thing I would say you definitely need with your cue. Don't worry about fancy bits of wood that cost loads of money and make the cue look nice. Make sure you've got the extensions that will allow you to play the game well. Ultimately, being able to strike the cue ball through the centre well is as important as it is with your regular cue action. And using this bit of card, I found a little trick that will mean you can do this every time. To find out how, watch Hit the Centre of the Cue Ball, and for more alignment advice, try cue straight and score. And remember, don't just watch, play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel. See you later.